Hard jelly tips.
Christmas on the beach.
Jet planes.
Pavlova.
Triblis.
Gene Bannon.
Bungee jumps.
Here we are, trying to outdo each other on YNZ's the best. Feel free to go outside and enjoy the view. We'll be a while.
Dan Carter's Undie campaign.
Welcome to Southland Mirahiku in New Zealand's Deep South, a region renowned for its unmatched beauty. This week it provides a natural playground for New Zealand's best road cyclists in the 66th edition of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Over 7 days we will see all the Deep South has to offer, starting and finishing in Invercargill, a city transforming for the future, through fertile farmland, the rugged south coast, the beauty of Souhland and the majestic remarkables in Queenstown, all to push the country's top road cyclists to their absolute limit. 126 riders, 21 teams, over 860 kilometres and one winner. This is the 2022 SBS Bank Tour of Southland. After the drama on Monday's racing into Lumsden, Western Southland again played host to the Tour peloton as the riders rolled out of the seaside township of Riverton, bound for beautiful Tiano. After early attempts at breaks were thwarted, Matt Zenovich and Daniel Bridgewater made the move of the day, getting off the front of the bunch and getting out to a 6-minute advantage by the time they reached the Blackmount Hill climb. By Manapori, their lead had dwindled, and while Bridgewater tried to stay away, the race came back together for a sprint finish down Lakefront Drive. Zach Patterson of Base Solutions Racing claiming the stage win, with Boris Clark staying in yellow as the Tour sets its sights on Wednesday's climb up the Remarkables.
Should be a pretty fast start, but yeah, for myself I wouldn't mind a bit of a head start on the climb, but yeah, we'll just save energy, and for sure Remarkables will have a bit of a shake up on the GC, but see how it goes.
It was pretty special to win the Queen stage on my first Southland last year, and yeah, another chance today, and we're in a great position as a team, so really looking forward to it, and yeah, it's always nice to be able to race in front of friends and family, and I think a few of them are coming out today.
The guys that got up the break on stage one, they might be a bit tired now, and hopefully they disintegrate a little bit. But hopefully the pressure will be right on the Quality Foods team to ride the front. I mean, they've got yellow, they've also got Michael Torpler only 42 seconds back as well. So, I mean, they're both right in the hunt.
So this large field going to head out of Mossburn today in fantastic conditions once again. This could be a stage that could turn this tour on its head here, Doug. There's a number of guys in contention for this yellow jersey. Only 42 seconds covering the top 10. Uphill is going to determine a lot.
Yeah, there's some happy faces in there. There's some pretty serious looking faces as you look back further into the group there. There'll be some seriously motivated lads here. I think this is going to really blow to bits right from the start. That's that kind of stage. The weather conditions obviously are going to play a part again. That's part of the SBS Bank Tour as we've talked about. But this stage is the one that sets up the rest of this race. It's not the beginning of the end, but it is the end of the beginning. So it's going to be a very, very, very interesting stage.
The sun is shining, but also the wind right up their back here at the opening stanza of this particular stage as they make their way across 5 rivers. And you can see a number of teams are taking full advantage of it. It looks like it's one of the local riders out in front here, Hamish Keast here, riders in Vink's team. He's been put onto the front and he is driving things along, but look right behind him. It is the full squad of the Australians, the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast. They're out to play here today, Doug.
We haven't seen this yet, and I had been waiting for this approach. Henk Vogels, he's a very, very seasoned campaigner, ex-pro. These older school guys who are in the management lead roles of these teams will start to have an effect on the strategy of these riders. And you can see 65k now, that is seriously going to hurt a lot of those riders.
It is putting big pressure on all of this field here in only the opening few kilometres, and already you can see them well stretched out here as they make their way across towards Five Rivers. A lot of these guys will be biting on the handlebars at the moment, chewing on it here as they try to hold on to the front of the group, which is a long way ahead.
What a magnificent sight. Not that these chaps at the front of this race are even thinking about what's going on behind them. They're concentrating on the first 10, 15 riders. That's all you've got to worry about when you're in this position. What goes on further back is of no consequence, but they are really, really stringing this field out. You can see further back there's starting to be some groups form. This is going to be a tough start for this mountain stage.
It's absolutely exploding left, right and centre here for these bunches at this point in time. We start with 120 odd riders, but very, very quickly that is being whittled down. We saw the yellow jersey starting to scramble up the outside to ensure he keeps himself to the forefront. There goes the Jesco Hydraulics, king of the mountains. Of course, that is one of the Spoken Cycles riders, Alex Heaney's keeping himself very much to the forefront as a number of teams now start to get involved. And look at it. Look at what is happening at the rear of the group here.
Absolute carnage, and we often see this in the SBS Bank Tour. The conditions have to be right. This is just a classic crosswind stage. There'll be a lot of old bike riders sitting watching this tonight who have been in these positions themselves. You don't want to get caught back, because the further back you go, the harder the chase is. This is really going to be a dramatic stage.
Let's not forget, this is 108 kilometres and we are only into the first 5 or 6 kilometres of this stage. It's going to be a long day for a number of these riders as we see the colours of Business South Cycling there. They're heading out the back door. There's Base Solution Cycles as well. I think Oxford Edge is particularly up there as well as these guys desperately try and scramble to get themselves on the front. And no surprise to see on the front yet again, Creation Signs, Mitre Q. But this Australian squad, you can see them on those fluoro bikes. Now these guys have done a lot of racing this year, and they've just returned a number of them from the Tour of Langkawi, where they took out a stage and they were right up there in contention for a number of the other results in that tour, so they come with some fine form here today.
So it's still very early on in the stage, and the damage is just getting compiled up at the front of the group here. The preems, as we come along into the Five Rivers, here's Paul Odlin. He's sprinting away for one of the preems on the left, and that looks like the boy is it James Harvey from the Spoken Cycles. The contesting and the amount of effort these guys are putting into the sprint preems and the hill preems as they go along is just tremendous.
Yeah, this year we're certainly seeing a tough competition across all the various classifications, because as we know, there is races within the race here, with the silver jersey, the green jersey, the under 23 to name but a few, as we now move to one of the next jerseys that is the King of the Mountains, as they make their way up for the first climb of the day to try and pick up those points.
Quite a tough wee climb, the Jollies Hill. Softens you up. It's a false flat all the way to the bottom of this, and the speed that these riders have been riding in this stage will really have zapped some of the legs. Remembering we're halfway through this year's SBS Bank Tour, so the fatigue will start becoming a factor, I think, as we go further on in this stage, if they keep racing it the way they are.
I see the green colours there of George Jackson. Of course, he was involved in a number of those climbs early on yesterday, and he continues to try and pick himself up some points. And if I remember rightly here, last year, Doug, he did exactly the same, did the big arm up in the air and picked himself up an extra $50 from the team manager, Kenny, for doing so.
Yeah, they're characters, these chaps, but they have come with one set design, and we talked about it yesterday, and that's to attack the field, split things up, and today also helping them in the ARA Pro Cycling Sunshine Coast team. They've really come out with a set plan, and it seems to be coming right for them.
Yes, this is the interesting point in time where we've now got down to about 30 to 40 riders, but they're not happy with that. It's still a large enough group in which they want to get a few more off the front, and this is where they'll start to determine who can and who can't actually get off the front there, as we see a group of about 8 or 9 riders, a few coming across, and not again, this is unbelievable. You'd think he'd be fatigued from yesterday. It looks like Zenovic, after spending a big chunk of yesterday's stage out in front into a blockhead wind, is dragging across a couple of riders.
You just can't keep that chap down, and when he does arrive in a breakaway group, they must all look around and say, hey, wow, we're in for a bit of a role here, because Matt Zenovich is, and we've seen it time and time again, he does drive the groups. The Share the Road Macaulay Ford team really have got a mantra of getting out and getting stuck in, like a lot of these other teams. The racing is so tough, and when you've got such committed and such focused riders all wanting the same thing, it just raises the level for everyone and the speed.
It's quite a large sort of a group getting off the front here, and about a handful of different teams being represented. And again, interesting to note that a few of them have managed to take a second team member with them. That could play into their advantage as they make their way for more sprints, more hill climbs further on down the road. But it is again Creation Signs, Mitre Q, who decide to put a bit of pressure on.
So this time it's Sam Ritchie from the Creation Signs Mitre Q. They're evening it all up and making sure they all have a crack at it. So Sam here is having a tack off the front coming into Garston. Still a long way to go, still a lot of road left. It's very exposed as you get up to Fairlight as well. So these chaps really have got a long way to go in this stage, and they are still attacking it.
And it looks like Harvey getting himself back up there to pick up a few more points. Keast in the mix there as well. Interesting to note that from that group of 30-odd, a lot of the top 10 contenders have sat back in that second half and allowed this group to move off the front. As we look to the peloton, 3:36, and they're looking like they're just enjoying the sunshine out there as they start to approach towards the Devil's Staircase very shortly, dropping down towards Kingston.
Yeah, there's some relaxation going on there, and I just don't know whether that strategy is going to long-term pay it off. These guys, especially the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine Coast team, they've got some seriously good climbers in there in this front group, and you can't help but think the bigger lead they have, the more springboard they're going to have to hit that climb up the Remarkable. So there's going to have to be some effort in the chase to collect this front group, which are looking really good.
Yes, we've traditionally seen this in this particular stage across to Queenstown over the years, whether it's gone up the Coronets, whether it's gone up the Remarkables, it doesn't matter. There's typically a group that gets away by 5 or 6 minutes and eventually gets dragged in over the last closing 20 kilometres. But can today be the day that these guys have rolled the dice and have got away with the gamble? As we see again, the big figure of Kane Richards. This guy here, he's a bit like a Zenovich in a lot of ways. He's the Australian version, I think. He's been driving it on the front day in and day out.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a coordinated approach here. Carter Bettles, of course, he's been rolling through as well, but I think the climbing prowess of some of these lads in this front group we're going to see as soon as we get to the Remarkables. But yes, the strategy from these riders to get away, give themselves a buffer before a big climb. You can see now the gap's out to 4:13. We're coming into the Devil's Staircase part of the race, which is really good if you're in a breakaway. You're out of sight. The road is very twisty and windy. The field will not even see where these guys are, and that makes it easier when you're in an escape situation.
It's also a situation on this particular road where you feel comfortable at 4 minutes odd, then all of a sudden within a few kilometres that can be chopped in half when the main peloton decide to really ramp things up. But these guys, they're just concerned with each other, ensuring that they roll smoothly together as a team. And as you said, Doug, a lot of undulations through here. Fantastic scenery making their way towards Queenstown as we see the chasing peloton on one of these descents here, still keeping things pretty calm and collected at this point in time. Looks like just 1 to 2 teams there controlling things.
Yeah, the Quality Foods Southland team will have, obviously by design, are having to do some chase. You can see the yellow jersey. Boris Clark is quite a further way back in the group there, but this is the front group here we see going around the Devil's Staircase, or just after, towards the Halfway Bay climb. What a fantastic scenery. You could not get a better place to ride a bicycle round in New Zealand, I believe.
Now that's Quality Foods Southland team, of course. They've got Lucas Murphy, the under 23-year-old from Hamilton. He's sitting up in that lead group. Now they've been talking up a lot of Michael Torkler, who sits back currently in the second group. So this could be a bit of a play by the team to put one of their teammates, we often see this at the top echelon of cycling here, where they'll place a rider in their team in the breakaway there. So when it comes to a climb, when their man comes across, they've got someone to work with there. We'll see how it goes for them here as they start to shut down the kilometres, making their way further and further into the stage. Remember, 108k, it's one of the shorter stages of this year's tour, but man, what a finish with over 6k of climbing.
Yeah, we're starting to get to the business end, and the ARA Pro Cycling Sunshine Coast team are realising that there's a real effort on the front here, like you were saying early on, to drive this breakaway as hard as they can all the way to the base of the climb, which is not very far away. We're just going past Jack's Point, the turn off to that, so not far to go to the base now before these riders will head right and start their climb up the Remarkables.
Jelly tips,
Christmas on the beach.
jet planes,
Pavlova.
tripless,
Gene Bannon.
bungee jumps.
There we are, trying to outdo each other on YNZ's the best. Feel free to go outside and enjoy the view. Will be a while.
Dan Carter's Undie campaign.
So here we have Kane Richards from the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine team. He's doing the teammate thing. He is leading out his man Carter Bettles there, number 14, who's been rolling through quietly throughout the day. But as we've said, you've seen his teammate doing a power of work. There'll be a reason for that. They would have had the conversation. It would have been part of the plan to try and bring in the best climber into the Remarkables here as they swing right into it with a 3-minute 30 gap on the chasing peloton.
Kane Richards has just done the absolute consummate teammate for the ARE Pro Racing Sunshine Coast, setting up this young boy Bettles up this climb. The look on Kane's face coming into the bottom was absolutely spent. There was nothing left in the tank. He's delivered this boy at the base of this climb, and you can see what the intention is. There's going to be some time put in here if this boy can carry on with this kind of pace.
It's a fine example of team racing. Those of you that are new to the sport here, of course there is 21 teams. They're made up of 6 riders, and they'll have individual strengths which they'll use to their advantage here each and every day. And that can change throughout the tour, of course. Some riders ride themselves and get a lot stronger as the tour goes on. Even throughout a stage, they would have been having a bit of a chat, checking in, is the plan still going to work? And at this point in time, he's making some big inroads to this particular group. So the Australian continues to kick on up the hill here, and the entire group he was with here are starting to implode. They've done their dash by the looks of the way they're starting to rock and roll on their bikes.
That was a sterling ride, of course, I believe, from Hamish Keast. This is a kid for the future. He's been a very faithful lieutenant for Michael Vink and the Transport Engineering Deep South team. That is a kid for the future. He could win a stage in this, I believe, at any stage. But it's the front of the race we're worrying about now. And Carter Bettles, the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine team, he has got a clear road behind him, and he will be just riding a tempo, trying to make sure that he doesn't overdo it at the start and blow halfway up the climb. But you can see the riders are all unzipping. The temperature will be a factor as well. It's a shorter climb than the Coronet climb, a steeper climb, and I believe a harder climb to contend with, because it just doesn't ease off. There is no point at which you get a rest up this hill.
It's very much chalk and cheese when you look at the leader. He's dancing on the pedals getting up the hill. When you look back to that group we've just come away from, as I said, rocking and rolling all over the bike there. Their legs are just not responding as they head uphill. And that's another big thing in the cycling game. Of course, the body can react and change at all sorts of moments, particularly after a day of which they've had a bit of undulation, some flats, a lot of speed. But then when they hit the big climb of the day, how that body's going to react. And that's what we saw with the leader. He looks good on the front here. And he's concerned, of course, by this chasing group, which includes the man in the yellow jersey.
So we can see here Boris Clark from the QFS team. He has got a lot of work to do. There's a 3-minute 30 time gap to the leaders at the base of this climb, and we do know that that's going out with Carter Bettles' efforts at the front. So the climb itself is going to dictate a lot of things on the GC sheet, and Carter Bettles will have that in mind, and that is part of his strategy going up here, is to take that yellow jersey off Boris Clark from the QFS team.
Oh, the face says it all. He is trying to stay in a smooth sort of a rhythm here, but the body is hurting. It has been a big day out in front, as it has for this man here in yellow, as you can see him starting to disappear down through the convoy. It's been a huge effort for Boris Clark, but as he said himself, it was a shock to be in yellow. But man, he has defended it well. But now you can see guys starting to blow up left, right and centre as the chase continues with the likes of Michael Torkler, Creation Signs might accuse Josh Burnett, the man that won this last year. Can they shut down 3 minutes 30? It's 6K to do it in, Doug. It's going to be a tough ask for these guys.
We saw Josh Burnett last year. He was just such a form rider in last year's SBS Bank Tour, the Creation Signs Mitre boy. He's got some work to do. He's obviously trailing behind here, one of the other QFS team leading, but out the front here, coming into the switchback component of this climb, it's Carter Bettles. He is really looking sharp. They belie the effort, these chaps. They're absolutely in torture, but if you have a look at them, they're composed, they're focused, they're trying to keep on the job, and they're not trying to let the whole thing get on top of them. But this boy is seriously putting in some effort. What a painful face he's got there. That's incredible.
Yes, the body is absolutely screaming here. Can he take himself out a stage victory? But more importantly, he could be the man into yellow here tonight if he holds on to a decent gap over these chases here. He has put a lot of energy over this last 6 kilometres, and he's only got metres to go for it here, but he knows full well the calibre of the type of rider that is chasing him. Let's not forget, you got the likes of Cooper back down there as well, a man who knows how to climb. You've got Burnett, but this man from Australia, Doug, it looks like he's going to take the victory, and he's going to take it in fine fashion. What an outstanding effort here by the man from ARA Pro Racing Sunshine. That is, of course, Bettles, who potentially now is going to put himself firmly into a yellow jersey.
Outstanding, and we've seen this so many times on this climb. The riders finish and they are absolutely spent. That boy has given absolutely everything. There's nothing left in the tank. He has done an outstanding ride. He got set up by his teammates in the ARA Pro Racing Sunshine team. They've had a strategy going in. Henk Vogels will be absolutely stoked with this, but that lad, give him a pat on the back. What an incredible ride.
Meanwhile, the clock continues to tick here as the chasers try to get themselves scrambled to the top as quickly as they possibly can. It looks like it's Lucas Murphy there, the man from Quality Foods Southland, who's gone off the front of this little group here and is trying to hold on to second place, and that'll catapult him further up the leaders board. As we see doing the Fred Astaire in the green there, that would be Josh Burnett, number 21, the winner from last year. We've got PowerNet also represented in there as well. These guys here know that every pedal stroke will continue to count. Josh Kent, he's one of the men in the top 10. Is he going to move himself further up? I think the answer is going to be yes, but man alive, they've got some time to try and make up on this man that took the stage out.
Yeah, Josh Footy's just rolling over there now to take third in the stage. And these lads really have given everything. There's nothing left for them to complain about. You put it all out, you take the time. They've minimised the damage that Carter Bettles has. You can see the tour leader now. He'll be disappointed. He acknowledges the ride. He will have lost quite a bit of time and perhaps that yellow jersey as well. But you can see here the riders all over the road. They are absolutely hammered.
They've climbed the Remarkables, and we have seen a remarkable ride from the Australian here today. Australia's Carter Bettles moves himself to the top of the leaderboard, now with a minute 21 over Josh Burnett of Southland and Kench at a minute 29. Things are shaping up well into Bluff for tomorrow. James Harvey was prominent in a lot of the early sprints of the day now and puts himself at the top of the leaderboard in the Harcourt Sprint Ace. Local man Matt Zenovich didn't have enough yesterday. He was back out in front today to take the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains. Joshua Kent continues to lead in the under 23 now with a minute 29 over the man from Switzerland. While Michael Torkler, after a fine effort up the Remarkables, moves into the Stonewood Homes silver jersey over Cooper and Hayden. Kane Richards, after his huge team effort of the day, takes out the Macleay Jewelers most combative. While Quality Foods Southland lead by 4 minutes and 5 over Central Benchmakers Willbike and Creation Signs Mitre Q.
We've been quite active throughout the race but haven't been able to reap any rewards of it. So today it was really good to be in the mix, really put the hammer down and then win the stage and take yellow as well. So it's good to get some results for the hard work the boys have been putting in for the week so far.
That climb was so hard. I knew that it was going to be hard, but yeah, towards the top there, the kilometres just couldn't come fast enough, could they? I was looking around the corners and it always kept looking like it was going to flatten out, and it just got steeper, I think. So all I was trying to do was just hold on and just go as hard as I could. And yeah, I'm happy that I held on.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.